back to Coach. Today's guest is Bloom de Wilde. Bloom is a kaleidoscopic polymath that is never not creating. She is an award-winning, multi-platinum selling artist, singer, songwriter, producer, poet, and visual artist. Her work explores the space where the senses meet. She creates colorful, exuberant universes that transport us to dreamy, faraway places. As a transformational coach, she helps other artists, musicians, and writers bring their visions into reality. Bloom hosts a transformation salon called Cosmic Picnic, is writing 2 books, and plays in an Indonesian gamelan orchestra. In October 2024, Bloom's solo album, The Circular Bean, was released by Cherry Red Records. I had the pleasure of meeting Bloom a couple of weeks ago in London on Jamie Smart's Clarity Summer Camp to wrap up this year's Clarity Coach training program. Thanks for joining us today, Bloom. It's so nice to see you.
And you. Thanks for having me, Greg.
It's my pleasure. So the way I like to kick these things off is to ask, what first sparked your interest in coaching?
Um, well, I've been on the transformational path for a very long time, and it's kind of entwined with my music and art creation, because it was always that seeking, about the nature of reality, about purpose, meaning, all that kind of stuff. But when I moved to Amsterdam from living in London, having lived in London for nearly 18 years, I was guided by this vision that, well, I saw that I had to be in Amsterdam, and I didn't know why. But interestingly, that's how in the lockdown I became aware of this community of musicians led by Nick Bottini. And he was just in that community, and I was intrigued by the questions that he put in there. And I didn't even know what coaching was, right? So this is fascinating. And I kept reflecting on these questions. They were the kind of questions that I was like, I love these questions. And then at some point, he invited people to respond to, and there was a recording that he offered. It's somehow that's resonated with me. So it's like, yes, send me the recording, please. And he created it as that, like, create some undistracted space to listen to this without interruption. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. So that was Beyond Psychology by Sid Banks. When I listened to that, it was actually at my dad's birthday party. And I thought, oh, I'll listen later. But I was like, I want to listen now. So I excused myself. I found a place to just listen. And that just, it brought me to tears, because it resonated in the depth of my being without even fully realizing intellectually what was being said. But I was like, this is what I've been looking for. It felt like everything fell into place in that moment when I heard that recording. It was like, yes, I am. I felt so seen, heard, and understood without even, and it was beyond the words. There was something that I felt, this is it. Yeah, so that's how it began, and that's how I got introduced to the 3 principles, coaching, and that whole side of it. And then little did I know that I would embark on the coaching path as a coach myself, which
I
soon
love that story. It's funny because there's a period of time where I resisted sharing Sid Bank stuff, thinking that, oh, it's going to be too much for people, or this crazy old Scottish Wilder, like who's going to want to listen to him or whatever. And then I've been on a number of calls with Bill Pettit, Dr. Bill Pettit, and he basically prescribes listen to this Sid Banks recording twice over, and he uses the metaphor that it's like giving somebody a shot of penicillin, and there's something anyway. So I've started to um, I've discarded all my thinking around what people might think about it, and a story like yours is a great example of how we don't know we can have faith though and trust in that you know Sid is speaking to something deeper than our minds in our intellect, and that's I think that was his true gift, speaking soul to soul, so to speak. So I love how that touched you and sent you on this whole path that's I'm sure quite a departure from where you thought you would end up.
That's the thing. When I moved to Amsterdam, I knew that there was a reason for something was changing or
Mm,
evolving, transforming. When I heard that Sid Banks recording, I experienced it as if being taken backstage, like from reality as we know it. I was like,
mm,
I'm backstage. And I've experienced that ever since, especially when speaking to people like Nick or Jamie,
mm,
or other people from the Three Principles community. Like, when I enrolled in the clarity training, like, then particularly, I noticed like we are here, and at the same time, we are speaking backstage.
mm,
And I love calling it that.
yeah.
Um, it's this sense of being both present in formless and form
Mm,
at the same time. So playing this beautiful dance of life and this
mm,
human experience, and at the same time, this formless, infinite game of like source, the monad, the oneness.
I love that. I had an image of you know your coaching being like offering your clients a backstage pass. Like every music fan's dream is to have a backstage pass to their favorite band, and I don't know, what we offer as coaches is kind of analogous to that. It's much simpler to get than people might realize. That's cool. So I'm interested in, I mean, in your intro, I said you're working with artists, musicians, writers. I'd love to hear more about who you're working with and how you work with these creatives in this space.
Mm. Well, my journey as a coach began 3 years ago when um, I just completed an apprenticeship, actually. But then I had a seemingly challenging situation in which, like, suddenly I couldn't stay in the flat I was staying, and I had to put my stuff in storage. And I was like, hmm, I'm feeling slightly panicky now. Like, my everything else suddenly seemed up in the air, and so I asked Nick. I texted him. I was like, I feel that I should panic, but at the same time, something feels as if it's precisely as it should be. And I'm like, and he asked me, given the situation, what would you like to create?
Mm,
Immediately that sparked a vision, and I saw this like vision of sharing how to create creativity, or how to consciously create in every aspect of life,
mm,
because it seemed like this has been my lifelong mission to have that access to, like, become aware that not just artistically we are constantly creating. Like, that's why that's there in
mm,
my biography. Like,
yeah.
I'm never not creating, because no one is never is ever not creating.
Creating.
Everyone is always creating, it's
Yeah.
we are creating right now.
Mm.
Um, and that's been my obsession, like to slow down so much that you can see that I am creating this
Mm.
experience, this, like, how am I choosing my path now, and create a sense of connection. We're creating a beautiful conversation here. We're
Mm.
creating possibilities for people that like are listening to this conversation. It's like, and it's all interconnected.
Mm.
Um, from that, so from that vision, I thought, I'm seeing myself leading a group, which at that time was unthinkable, because as much as I loved being on stages and feel really at home there, speaking in a small group, just speaking, raising my hand was something I found terrifying at that
Mm.
point. Um, I got sweaty armpits, like
Mm.
palpitating hearts, like, oh, like something that I physically couldn't do yet at that.
Mm.
Yet, when the vision is there, it's a done deal. So
Mm.
I surrendered to it. So Nick and I started creating something called Creative Recharge,
Mm.
which was the first. I didn't even know that, like, I was going to be a coach yet then, but I thought I'm going to ask him to collaborate with me, and it's important. And that's how it began with this group program.
Mm.
Um, Now I digressed so much that I'm like, what was the question again? Um, so it was a group program, and it's like we just did the third iteration of that, and it's basically not just artists and creatives, but also just people that would like to reconnect with that,
Mm.
with the fact that they are, creating, or maybe they think they are not creating or creative, and there's a curiosity there, but yeah, in that space, it's a miracle space in which we
Mm.
slow down so much, and because we do it together,
Mm.
it's uh, it's an incredible experience, and co-creation, which is
Yeah.
my favorite thing,
Yeah.
co-create.
Yeah. Well, I love when you mentioned collaboration. I mean, I see these interviews I do as a form of collaborating with people, and I see it so much with clients that I have that are working in the coaching realm, but even clients in the business world and things, that people get this idea in their head that they have to somehow do things alone, or it's not valid, or I don't know, some various versions of nonsense like that that holds them back. And I love what you said, just the idea of partnering and collaborating with somebody, like going on an adventure together, um, is a great way to create things, like to um, uh, the way the image that's coming to my mind is like, you know holding somebody's hand and jumping into off the river bank into the river together. Like, it's scary as hell maybe if you're alone, but if you're connected with somebody else, it's kind of like you've got their back and they've got yours, so like anything's possible in that collaborative space.
Mm. Yeah, and what fascinates me is that if you create with someone, it's like it's not 1 plus 1.
Mm.
It's like a whole new
Yeah.
being comes into existence, which transcends either universes. It's like,
Mm.
whoa, a whole new universe between us.
Yeah.
And when you do that with a group of 12, 14 people,
Mm.
it's like this cosmic prism of like all the colors.
Mm.
And that's I find tremendously
Mm,
exciting.
yeah.
This co-creation and yeah, so I realized this year that I'd always been kind of like, oh, I'm a solo artist. And I've been in bands, but then I
Mm,
want a solo career and like
yeah.
one-to-one coaching practice. And at the beginning of this year, all of that fell away. I was like, I released my album and it was a really seemingly big deal to me. And I realized I don't want to be a solo artist anymore.
Mm,
I'm done. I want to collaborate and I want to work with groups.
mm,
So, ah, that's the most exciting thing. Just, yeah.
yeah.
So that's all
Very-
new and exciting.
yeah.
Introduce.
You mentioned the word vision a few times, and I often refer to like, oh, the image in my head is this, and I use that in my coaching and when I'm talking to people. Like I'm convinced that the images that pop into my head are not coming from my brain. They're coming, from something much larger and deeper. In Jamie's words, the wisdom and intelligence behind life is guiding me um, through these images. So I'm curious for you when you're using the word vision to describe. I'm just really curious about what is that experience like for you? Like, is it images? Is it like video images? Does it have sound and smell? Like, I'm just really curious about the flavor of your vision.
Hmm. It's like, well, first I'll have you know that I'm a synesthete and an animist, which so so all my senses are entwined.
Mm,
And in my experience, everything is imbued with soul, with spirits,
mm,
everything, and is interconnected. But when such a thing happens as a vision, it's as if, the separation between you and I can fall away, and we can fall awake to the fact that that's a divine illusion,
mm,
but also of time and space. So, in a way, yeah, in that moment, it feels like that illusion of time and space falls away, and there's a glimpse. And it's a bit like when you remember a dream and it has everything, but it's just one frame,
mm,
like there's sound, there's light, there's color, there's feeling. Um, it's all there, but it's just one frame.
mm,
So, really sharp and in focus, but just one frame. Yeah, and I noticed that I experienced that a few times in life, like the one I told you before we started the
mm,
conversation. When I saw my children in the box bike and the light, and they were singing, but it was just one frame.
mm,
At some point, um, yeah, just after we moved to Amsterdam, that moment happened.
mm,
Like, oh my God, this is the moment. This is that.
mm,
It's awesome. And it's happened with quite a few things. So I started really trusting that when something like that happens,
mm,
it's just the illusion of time and space falling away, and I get a glimpse, which is a sort of compass. And I don't have to do anything either,
mm,
because it's like, okay, I have a sense of where my path is leading me, and now let's stop trying to stop that.
mm.
It's surrendering to what wants to come into existence
Yeah,
through me in this instance.
yeah. Well, it's a great distinction to point out is, I don't have to do anything. Like, it's surrendering to it, like just getting out of the way and letting it unfold is, um, it's so counterintuitive, I think, for people to um, we're I'll speak for myself, but raised in an idea of must take action, must be in control, um, must be deliberate, all that kind of stuff. Like the exact opposite of surrendering and getting out of the way, letting life unfold as it is intended to be. I love that. Going back to you, you talked about the creative recharge. I'm curious if you could share an example or two about the impact that program had on somebody in terms of whether it's getting them unstuck or inspiring them to create their next big thing. Just some example that could people could relate to.
Mm. Well, the first one that comes to mind is then when I started enrolling people for it, and I thought, who do I see there? Who do I most want
Mm,
to have there? And there was a person that jumped to mind, which was one of my oldest friends from London. And I hadn't spoken to him in ages, but he just has this brilliant mind. And like, I was like, I'm going to call him. I called him. We hadn't spoken for ages, and he was in the state. He was a hotel manager, and he created a really small box for himself. And it was, yeah, he was on the verge of burnout and feeling that, yeah, trapped by the small container that
mm,
he created for himself. So he became my first coaching client, kind of accidentally, because it
mm,
was like, how do I enroll someone in something that doesn't exist yet? So we started speaking about possibilities, and it kind of naturally like evolved. And he was like, yes, I'm going to join your program, but I was still ages away. So by the end of the in-person aspect of the program, basically he completely changed his life, quit his job, started traveling, and he sold his house, started traveling to be closer to his son who lives in a different country, and creating the life that he wanted of freedom, space, um, writing, coaching, because he's also a coach, but he hadn't practiced that
yeah.
for several years, and like getting into it. And yeah, that was like, whoa, well, that's that's incredible to see. And he just came back for the third year now, and
Mhm,
where he is now is like, wow,
mhm,
he's such a exquisite human being. And that's I found most moving to see someone step into their full being
mhm,
with wildness, with fierce creative freedom to create the life
mhm.
he wants to.
Yeah. I
So
was doing a mentorship thing with Rita Shuford last year when I was on one of Jamie's programs, and we were talking about this whole. Uh, Basically, she was pointing to like everything's the principles, kind of analogous to this. You're never not creating. Like that's it's the only thing there is creating our experience through thought taking form in the moment. And it got me thinking about the phrase that came, the words that came out of my mouth was that I want to explore the veracity of my power to create. And I thought, where did that come from? But you know, your the way you described for that client, the box that he created, and then his capacity to create a different box or a bigger box or obliterate the box entirely. Like it's, the fact that um, you know, whatever we can dream, we can kind of bring into reality. That's kind of how it works. So I love that. If there was one thing you'd want people to take away from this conversation, what would that one thing be?
that often think that there's this pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and we have to do all these things to get there. And I found that usually a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is freedom. Like all the is that you peel away. That's what do I want? Complete freedom. But we are the pot of gold. And we can create from that freedom now and now and now also. And yeah, that for me, that had the biggest impact, seeing that both as an artist and as a coach, that realization, like I don't have to do anything. I don't need to do anything. It's all here. And it's like, and I begin from that. And I can always return to that because it's always here. Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. If people want to learn more about your coaching or your music, where can people find out all about the world of Bloom de Wilde?
I must admit, I've been a little bit aloof in the internet department with this. However, yeah, I have a website which I haven't updated for a while, but that's bloomdewilde.com. I am on Facebook and Instagram. And, yeah, and I host the Cosmic Picnic. The next one is next. It's the next one is next Wednesday. That's kind of a salon in which me and a collaborator, we invite people to share something around a theme that has moved them, and then it's a transformational space. There are a lot of people from both the musician community and the clarity community and the coaching communities. So yeah, there are music, art, poems, and contemplations being shared, exchanged, and I want to invite you to that because I think you might enjoy that.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. Cool. Well, thanks so much for being my guest today. This has been an amazing conversation. I've really enjoyed it, and I don't know. I feel like I've got an invitation to more deeply explore kind of my imagination and my visions. And I don't know. I've spent most of my career in a very analytical jobs. I mean, I was in retail analytics and grocery category management, things like staring at numbers 60 hours a week. And I don't know. I love exploring this other more creative, playful side of myself. So anyway, I feel like this conversation is pointing me more in that direction. So thank you for that.
So what are you going to create next?
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see. Cool. Thanks, Bloom.
Thanks, Greg.